You take some people and you throw them across the galaxy, but then you don't go just murdering all the aliens to get home as quick as possible.
They didn't murder all the aliens.
I want to bounce an idea off you, Mr. Chase. It's nice to have you here because you've dabbled in Linux, but you're not a daily Linux user.
Correct.
And I've been mulling over something on my road trip.
All right.
And I want to throw it at you. I more so than ever now believe that it is a total fantasy and myth that quote-unquote average new users are coming to Linux on their own, and that Linux needs to design any desktop environments that are really focused at the new user. Now, I think there is a type of new user that comes, and that's one that's been aided by an existing Linux user. So, like, maybe I get you to switch to Linux.
Right.
Or I switch my son to Linux. Or I switch a family member to Linux, and they need an easy-to-use interface. So there's still a space for, like, your elementary OS, simple to use. But I believe, like, GNOME and Plasma Desktop and XFCE and all of these, like, mainstay Linux desktops don't need to worry about the average user at all. And if you get rid of this fantasy that the average user is going to stumble onto Linux, it gives you permission to make the coolest, geekiest, most badass desktop environment ever that power users would love, which Plasma gets close to, actually. But let me just mention this really, just to clarify. The biggest new user that would be attracted to Linux is likely going to be a Windows refugee. Mac users, pretty happy. They're fine. They spend a lot of money on their machine. They're invested. But a Windows user might be on Windows XP right now, might be on Windows 7, and they're looking at 8 and 10, and they're going, no way, not for me, not what I want. The theory in the Linux community goes that they then do a Google search and discover a new, easy-to-use Linux desktop. They download this Linux desktop, they manage to learn it on their own, discover how to install software, put whatever they want on there, and begin using it. But the reality is, what really happens is more and more people are just using their phones.
Yeah.
On the road trip, Hadia paid her staff from her iPhone using the payroll software app that they've made. She's able to look at all of the schedules to see what new patients have been booked, what times they're seeing people. She's able to manage the entire operation from her phone. Her staff, all very intelligent people in their 30s, maybe one person in their 40s, smart, really, pretty current on everything. None of them own computers at home. They all just use their phones. They all just do it from their phone. And if the phone isn't sufficient, there's Chromebooks, there's tablets. There's so many other solutions that are built for consumers to, quote-unquote, find before they would ever arrive at the idea of switching to Linux unless they were predisposed by a friend, a family member, or something they've read or watched to try it. And the mass market that supposedly this new user that's coming to Linux literally is a fantasy. And if we let go of that fantasy, we unshackle ourselves and allow us to make the most badass stuff for geeks and not have to worry about the noobs. And it seems like it would be a way better place.
I think with, like Chromebooks is a great example of getting somebody off of Windows, get them onto something free, quote unquote, that gets them through the basics. Web surfing, writing a document, email, things like that. Just basic stuff. But as soon as you try to get into the whole, I want to install this game or install this program, then you're kind of locked into that ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, when I guess it really just depends on the person of what they're looking to do. And if you have someone intelligent enough to kind of guide them to what would work best for them, I think it would eliminate a lot of this. I think...
Then don't you think that's where purpose-built distros serve a...
Right, yeah, and that's what I was saying. What's the goal of Linux in general? It's open source software. It's something that you don't need to use Windows or OS X to do something with. You have your own free way of doing something. But it does take some hand-holding. I mean, when I was off on my journey and trying to do full stuff on Linux, I'm tech-centric, and I still had problems, I mean,
you literally deal with tech every single day. You are in IT. You have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I've worked with you in many spaces. I know you're very competent. And So when you say that it's still extremely difficult, and didn't you run into something with Steam in particular that was confusing? Like you tried to install it from the App Store, and it totally...
Right? Yeah, I mean, like as a basic quote unquote noob when it comes to Linux, I went to the Ubuntu App Store,
Software Center.
Yeah, I downloaded Steam, and it wouldn't install. It wouldn't run, and I went to steampower.com. I downloaded it. It said, "Hey, you're on Linux."
And it opens the Software Center to
right,
install.
and I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It's not clear. And for the power users, I consider myself a quote unquote Windows power user, but I don't try to make my desktop all crazy. I just keep it functional and just make it usable. What is their goal? Is the Linux community's goal to get people off of Windows and Mac and onto Linux? Is it to make it more simpler for the common person?
So you're the conundrum, because you would essentially be the ideal Linux user, except for one problem. And I bet the majority of our audience that runs Windows is in this boat. Because you're technically competent, and just like the beard, it really isn't a big deal to keep a Windows operating system running stable and efficient enough to be used for a long time if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't download stupid executables, and you don't install stupid background changers that are monitoring everything you do. And, you could even run a Windows box. Do either one of you run antivirus on your main Windows boxes?
Nope.
Well, it's Windows 10, so it's got the built-in Defender thing. But I don't. Yeah. I didn't get. This is the first year I didn't even get ESET, by the way.
This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, if you know what you're doing with Windows, it's the same thing with the Mac. If you know what you're doing with the Mac, you can make it run well.
Yeah.
And so the technical people that know their platforms, I don't think they're good candidates to switch either. And new users that don't know their platforms are going to be way too lost unless they end up on something like Elementary OS, that they're going to be drawn to phones. And I think phones more so than anything because it's something they already have to have. It has a data connection they don't have to futz with. Everybody under the sun's making apps for everything. And it's like, well, shit, if I'm going to buy one expensive piece of tech and I don't really care about tech, why not make it my phone?
See, the problem I have with the phone side of it is, and this is something I'm kind of struggling with right now with my personal phone. I have a Nexus 6P. It's about, year and a half, almost 2 years old now. And it's starting to struggle. And it shouldn't, right? It should be still acting the same way when I bought it. And, as far as, I do a system restore on it and I wipe it and I start fresh and clean.
And does it run better then, or does it still feel sluggish?
It still feels sluggish from time to time. And
so you think it's just the new Android OS?
It's either the new Android OS or some of the apps are not fully optimized for what you're doing. When I run into an app that's not well made for a PC or Mac, it doesn't affect my entire experience, where I can just get rid of that app and things clear up. I don't know what app on my phone is causing it to struggle.
Right. You don't really have the ability to dig in like you can with a desktop.
No. And I think that's part of the...
You can trial and error it. You can look at some of the battery usage metrics and
install
stuff like that.
One app at a time and wait and see. I mean...
So this is... And I don't want to turn this into like one platform versus the other, but this is where I generally end up with Android to a degree as well. And I never had that problem with like my BlackBerry. I've never had that problem with an iOS device, but I definitely have had that problem with Android. But usually with me, when I wipe and reinstall or switch to a different image, like back then it was CyanogenMod, it would go away and it would feel like a really fast phone again. So it's interesting you say that even after reloads, it's not going away.
And even after like a restart or whatever, it's an interesting conundrum because I think... Obviously, the desktop computer is starting to go away as far as for the normal everyday person.
Yeah, it really is, and that's so sad because it's the best platform. It's the best. It's better than laptops. It's better than like desktop computers, real PCs where you can put PCI cards
or upgrade, and make changes. And
that's the real computer,
right?
And yeah, you're right. It's becoming a legacy product,
right? I mean. You look at what System 76 is doing. I mean, look at that nice little thin laptop that's back there. It's a nice little laptop. It's great. Can you throw in a new hard drive in there?
I don't think so.
Can you?
I don't think I'd want to.
Is that a user accessible battery?
No.
Those are the kind of things that are pretty much gone now, and that's even this phone, not user accessible battery.
Right. Yep.
Those kind of situations where hey, if my computer's having some issues or some space issues, guess what? I could just pop in a new hard drive.
You know what really drives it home for me is when I'm using my camera stuff, like I'm using my cameras, and I'm swapping batteries and SD cards on those things like a maniac. And I think to myself, this is a huge, huge aspect of what makes these usable for me is the fact that I can have a battery on the charger and a battery in the camera, and I can rotate them, and I can swap out an SD card and put a fresh one in. And if Canon ever got to the point where they started sealing those things up, where I couldn't do that, they would not be functional tools for me.
Well, a lot of companies are doing that now. I mean, you look at Apple's new MacBook Pro, right? No Cat 5 port. Doesn't even have an SD card slot anymore. You know, it's all about adapters and, you know, for the what used to be commonplace, like a freaking old Dell laptop had a VGA port, had an HDMI port, had a Cat 5 port, had a modem port, had all these things on it, right? But now you have to buy adapters for all these things. It's inherently even more expensive now to get the same functionality that you used to have 10 years ago.
Yeah. I though at the same time I was thinking back. Remember PCI MCA cards or
Yeah. Oh yeah, we use them at work all the time.
what really?
So
Still?
the slot,
Like old laptops?
No. So we have desktop replacement Dells. They're laptops. They're about 5 years old now, and they have PCMIA card slots on
No,
them
really.
that are used because Sony has an X by S card that uses that slot for high-speed writing of video on the video cameras.
Oh, okay, sure. So that's the only way to get the media onto the computer.
Right. Well, guess what now? The new laptops don't have that card slot on them anymore.
This is where I was going. This is the golden age of laptops, I think. When you could replace the batteries, and my laptops had 2 of those slots. So I could put 2 PCI-MCI. I could have an Ethernet port and a FireWire port, or an Ethernet port and a USB card, or a wireless. When wireless first came out, I didn't have to get a new laptop to have wireless. I just slid in the PCI-MCA card for my 802.11a network.
So what do you think this is? Is this company is trying to take advantage of making you buy accessories, or are they trying to go thinner and slimmer? And obviously when you do that, you have to get rid of the other stuff.
It depends on your implementation. So going back to your MacBook Pro example, the thing about those USB-C, 4 USB-C ports on the MacBook Pro is that's PCI bus. That's, in a sense, like going back to the PCI-MCA card. The fact that now I can put anything I want on my laptop's PCI bus, game changer performance-wise. Frickin' game changers. From capture cards for 4K video to pulling footage off of my SD cards with special super fast readers to using RED cameras or working with external graphics cards or external high-speed storage like SSD storage on the PCI bus, like game changer. So it is in a way going to like this horrible land of dongles, but at the same time it's giving consumers more choice in more performant options. So it's sort of a good thing. It's like getting PCI-MCA slots back without the huge slot.
All right, I'll give you that. But all right, what about your battery? Your battery is only going to have so many charges on it.
Yeah, I suppose. But you know,
fuel cells. I mean,
I guess that's the tricky thing. That's the real trade, because not being able to upgrade the RAM, not being able to upgrade the storage, that is a real bummer. I guess over the years we've accepted soldered on CPU and GPU. I would love to be able to replace those in a laptop too. But you kind of can now with Thunderbolt 3 and USB-C. You kind of can replace.
Doesn't NVIDIA have like an external video card?
Apple's selling one.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it's a
Razer
Sonnet
too.
one. Yeah, Razer sells
Razer,
one. There's
yeah, that's
several.
it. Yeah, Razer.
There's actually a huge community in eGPUs. It's surprising, but not too surprising, I suppose. There's always a community that crops up.
It's just my worry is it's going to get to the point where the term upgrade for a laptop is going to go.
It means a whole new laptop.
It means a whole new laptop.
But everything that's USB-C will work on the next laptop. And here's something else that's starting to become advantageous, and I'm just beginning to get into this. I have a USB-C dock that has power, several USB-A ports, SD, mini SD. But the nice thing is it does power pass-through. So with one cord, I get a whole bunch of extra USB slots and power.
As long as you don't get a bum cable that fries the whole thing.
I did get a good cable. But you know what's great about it is I've got 2 Dell machines and a MacBook Pro now that I can set them down, and it's one cord. Doesn't matter which machine it is.
I like
and
that
I
a
plug
lot.
that in, and it works.
By the way, thanks to companies getting together and not a government trying to push a standard.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, no, seriously,
This moment brought to you by Noah.
Well, it's true though. I mean, all these companies come together and they agreed on an interface. You know, whether it be USB 3.0 and then you move to Thunderbolt and then you move to USB-C.
Yeah.
You know, hey, at least we're coming together and there's some commonality across all platforms.
So this, I think, is where, okay, now bringing it back to my original, so
Yes.
for Linux users today, there is actually more choice in hardware than there has ever been where it just works out of the box. And with USB-C devices, a lot of them, surprisingly, work out of the box with Linux. So I've got a machine running Linux, and I can connect an external display to a USB-C port that also has, it's a Thunderbolt, get this, it is a Thunderbolt 2 dock connected to a USB-C dongle. And I can plug that into my different Linux boxes, and I get external Ethernet, external USB-A, external DisplayPort, and it works across Linux distributions. It works across Mac OS. It is truly like the future, and Linux users are full-fledged citizens.
I do like that part of it at least. So, did you guys pull any triggers on Amazon Prime Day? Like any super big deals?
I got a Wii scale, like the
Wait, the Nintendo platform?
no,
thing?
no, it's like a scale that uses Bluetooth LE to send my weight to the phones because I'm tracking it while I fast.
Oh,
It was like $125, but I got it on sale for like $65 or something crazy. It was such a good deal. I was like,
yeah.
This is a dumb idea, but it's such a good deal. I've been kind of thinking about trying it.
Yeah, you know, the same thing for me. It was a very weird item. So I don't know about my genetic background at all. I was adopted. My mom has passed on, and I don't know who my father is. So I really don't know who I am.
Wow, yeah.
And so Woot, at the same time they were doing Amazon Prime Day, which, by the way, Woot is now owned by Amazon, so But anyway, Woot had a 50% off a 23andMe DNA and ancestry kit. So normally it's $200. I got it for $100.
Does kit mean like for two people?
No, for one. You get both things. So you get to learn about ancestry and also your DNA makeup. So what they do is, it was $100. I got it Amazon Prime last week. They give you a vial that you put your saliva into, and then you send it back. Now, I know a lot of people are probably screaming at their podcatching clients right now going, hey, Chase, you're just giving away your DNA. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I read the terms of service. Yeah, I pretty much am. It is what it is. But the government probably already has my DNA anyway. But I will find out in about 4 to 6 weeks what my genetic makeup is. Am I Western European? Am I Hispanic? What the hell am I?
Now, does that thing tell you about like your propensity to get certain diseases and stuff?
Yes, but not as extensive as it used to be. They got in trouble from the FDA a while back because they were essentially giving medical advice without a license.
Mm-hmm.
But they are able to do and give you certain information. So I'll have some
What
of
do
that.
you do when you get that information? Like, what if you find out you are significantly more likely to have lung disease or something? Or
I don't know if that's going to like give me that kind of info or not, but I don't know how I'm going to react.
yeah, like what do you do as a person? Like you would seem to have to all of a sudden have to start deciding when I'm going to alter my behavior.
Yeah. I had never thought about the medical aspects. I was more interested about the genetic aspects.
I would imagine that's got to be. Yeah.
But yeah, it's all going to be there. And for me, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to know more about who I am and my genetic disposition. Granted, I'm a very tall person, and there's no one in my family that is tall at all. So I know I got that from my father, whoever that guy is. So it's just interesting to me.
Now, you do have somebody you call dad, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally. Yeah, no, the guy that I call dad, he basically raised me when I was 3 days old until today. So, but yeah, no, I'm very interested in it. But I know there's some people are worried about having your DNA out there and on a database somewhere, and This is just one of those two services. I think Ancestry does a DNA
What's
service.
the concern exactly? Is it that they could be
That they're taking your DNA and they're selling it. You know?
So they're selling it to like, could they like the is the so I wasn't sure if the concern was like the government could get access to it, or if the concern was that they could eventually sell to insurance companies.
I think that there's a concern with that too. Yeah, totally.
Also, the Russian black market. They're gonna make Chase soldiers.
They'll make clones of me. Actually, you know, Rocky 3, that was after me.
You know what'll end up happening is 20, 25, 30, 35 years from now, all of the Russian radio hosts are going to sound just like you, Chase. That's
well, I'm hoping I can take the DNA and kind of infuse it back into me, right? And keep myself young, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Just survive off your clones.
That's right.
That's brilliant.
I start killing my
Transfer
clones.
your consciousness.
Right, exactly, and just keep that going.
I've actually been thinking about this, although I don't think I'm going to do it, but I'm in a semi-similar boat. So my mom was adopted, so I know very little about my mom's side of the family.
Right.
And I would be kind of interested, but I think I would be more interested in what the hell am I going to have to deal with, and what while I'm in my 30s can I start doing now to possibly make things while I'm in my 70s a little easier. That's the kind of thing I'd want to get out of it, and then it sounds like they're backing off on that.
Well, they had to, like they were made to.
Yeah, it makes sense. Medical advice and all that.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting though, is because growing up, there was the first person that I really called dad was actually my stepfather, and then later had to like make a transition to calling my dad and my stepfather dad. But then there was two dad. It was just this really weird, awkward thing. So I follow what you're saying there too.
So I just did a quick search, and they basically give you a genetic health risk report. They're not for diagnosis, but they're saying like reports. The reports included are Parkinson's, late onset Alzheimer's disease, hereditary thermophilia, which I have no idea what the hell that is, and there's a few other reports here too. But yeah, basically they kind of give you like if when I get older, I mean, have some problems. Who knows? I think it's really interesting to know, and I'm completely amazed as far as how far we have come as far as science and technology to we're at a point now where I can pay a couple $100 and get my full genetic DNA makeup and know what am I. And I just think that's amazing, you know, I'm thinking when I'm a kid, you know, 8 years old playing in elementary school, thinking about the year 2000, I'm thinking about flying cars. And now here we are.
Yeah,
you know,
this is particularly cool. Like that kind of thing and all of that. In fact, you know, it's sort of funny to look back, take that time period, you know, talking about being a kid. So take 10 years ago, or take yourself from when you were 10 years old and look forward. So at 10 years old, I had the internet, right?
Prodigy.
It was rough.
CompuServe.
CompuServe, Prodigy.
Dial-up.
AOL. That's what the internet was. In fact, it looked like nothing at this point. When I was 10 years old, nothing was ever going to replace AOL.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we could be going back to, internet silos.
Yeah, now everything has a
walled
hashtag.
gardens.
Today, every commercial has a hashtag. Every business has a hashtag. And back then, they all had AOL keywords.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being on AOL, and like for the most part, I didn't browse the internet. I was just in the AOL sphere, all the AOL chat rooms and all the different.
I met my wife on AOL.
Oh, yeah?
No kidding.
I did. And yeah, we were actually just chatting. We were living in Fresno. And yeah, I mean, we met through a chat room, and this is before eHarmony and Snatch.com. I mean, all those services. But yeah, but now it's like commonplace. But back then, it was taboo. It was like, oh, you met online,
dude.
Oh,
yes. In fact, today it's super common.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like you.
How do you know they're not a murderer?
You didn't admit to it.
Yes.
You didn't admit to it.
Oh, it was very embarrassing. Or people would laugh at you, and you didn't want to tell them.
So you did you tell people? Did you say? What did you say?
Eventually, I would. It's kind of like tiptoeing into a pool, right? You would kind of ease into it. That's what I would do. I would kind of ease into it and be like, "So how'd you met?" Well, we met through the computer. It was kind of I wouldn't say AOL because it had that stigma to it at the time.
It still does.
It still does. Wait, you still have AOL?
Yeah.
What? But no,
What
it was,
are you, the CIA director?
but no, 10 years old, man. I was playing like Super Mario Kart, and I was jumping on and playing Trade Wars 2002 on a BBS, and I mean that kind of stuff, man.
I played around with definitely played around a lot with BBSs. Did a little bit of Gopher.
Oh God.
And it's funny. So that was when I was 10 years old. Here I am now at 35 years old.
And you're still playing with Gopher.
And no, I really feel like recently I've been on dial-up again. This AT&T
on your phone.
No. My phone's on Ting, but I have this AT&T grandfathered plan that's from way back in the day when they offered unlimited data. And I've been using that on a MiFi to get internet access in Lady Jupes. And, on a good day, I could set up my booster, and I would solve for low signal, and I could get 22 megabits. And I was like, "This is
perfect."
We're gonna continue to be cord cutters. We'll watch Netflix. We'll watch YouTube. This is amazing." And we would use about 300 gigs a month.
Wow.
It's a lot, but it's not.
No, but I mean, like for mobile, that's a lot, I think.
Yes, it is. But it's like if you look at other people on, I know it sounds like a lot, but a lot of people were like in terabytes. Like there are some people.
I mean, have you thought about going to like T-Mobile or something like that? Because I know, like at least with them, with the video side, they don't even count it.
Well, that's because they re-encode it.
It also depends on the site.
That's true.
But no,
Pornhub or something, right?
No, you see, actually, it's they're just not even a contender, right?
No.
Because if I really could just do that, I could probably talk to the right people at Ting, and I could get a review line that was essentially unlimited. But the issue is that a lot of the places I camp, the only provider that has signal is AT&T.
Oh.
And so I'm kind of limited to AT&T because they're the only one that has any service in these areas.
Yeah.
And what they instituted 3 months ago now, or I think, is after you've used 22 gigabytes, you get throttled when the network is busy.
In that area, though, right?
Yeah. And of course, right now I'm parked in Mount Vernon, so it pretty much is from 4 p.m. By about 7 o'clock, I can't even load web pages. It's
that bad.
Yeah, it's really like you want to load a web page, you let the web page load, and it comes down like it used to on dial-up. The images load like they used to on dial-up, and you just step away, you go do something, you come back, and the page is loaded.
You know what you need to do? You need to do like a live view where you aggregate Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, all those people together.
In fact, I think Linus Tech Tips did a video on somebody that does something like that.
Yeah, Bonder.
Yeah, and I got to look into that, but it's cost. You see, that's part of it.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I am considering there's also Star Touch or something like that. It's like somebody in the Pacific Northwest that does microwave services.
Isn't it? Just think about it for a minute, though. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you wouldn't even be able to do this kind of thing.
No,
right?
no.
And now you're at a point where, this is definitely a first world problem. We're complaining about being throttled on bandwidth out in the middle of nowhere.
The internet, is
it that much of a necessity?
If you make your living off the internet, I don't know.
For you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
Even just to be able to stay current throughout the evenings, just to inform my commentary on the shows, is kind of necessary to always be connected.
Yeah.
But what I do then is I flip the Wi-Fi off on my phone, and I use my phone's connection, which is unthrottled, but eats data. So it's not a great solution. But it's interesting. Really, a 10-year-old version of me is struggling with essentially the same tech problems that a 35-year-old version of me.
Do you think that kind of when we were 10, 12 years old, where you had local BBSs set up, local city BBSs where, they would have 5 lines or whatever, and they would pay their monthly little fee to kind of have a little ISP. I know depending on what state you live in, you have ISPs trying to shut that down on a state level. But I think maybe that might be the answer going forward, where you have municipalities, small cities banding together, setting up essentially internet co-ops and doing something along those lines. And then you don't even have to be at behest and beholden to these big companies, and then you're really paying into a smaller thing. Think like out in Wenatchee, Eastern Washington. Their ISP is the power company, essentially. I mean, they put up the infrastructure, and then they have independent ISPs that take care of that.
I'd like to see that take off more.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, might be the potential answer.
Sticking to the theme though of when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I think when I was 10, I think by then I was a big Star Trek fan. and I'm still a big Star Trek fan. Like, that hasn't changed. Like, I'm still 10-year-old me and 35-year-old me still
All
love
right.
Star Trek.
So you know what I'm going to ask you now?
What's that?
Discovery.
Uh-huh.
So San Diego Comic-Con, new trailer got released this weekend.
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery,
Uh-huh.
saw a little bit more of the crew.
Yeah.
Saw more of the Klingons.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What do you think?
New trailer's making me feel a lot better.
Okay. Yeah.
First trailer had me a little freaked out.
Yeah.
First trailer, I can sense death. I mean, stuff like that, man. Like, that was like, oh, God, this is going to be bad.
Hey,
now,
The Sixth Sense ended up being good.
yeah, that's true. Now, though, the new trailer, it's recut. It's better. I think what I'm seeing for and before me is this is not, this is obviously not a spoiler because this is what I'm thinking, is what we're seeing for and before me is a Star Trek that is not based around the captain. It's based around a lower crew member. And so the captain that they've been featuring in the trailers, specifically the Asian lady, isn't a super important character. She's definitely a character in the show, but she's not... Like, when she's on screen, she doesn't hold the screen. Like, when Janeway was on screen, that was the captain of the bridge. Like, Janeway had gravitas. That actress does not have that gravitas. She does not have a Captain Picard or Captain Kirk or Captain Janeway gravitas.
Or Cisco or any of those
She
guys.
distinctively feels like a secondary character. And
She's the old person that dispenses the sage advice to the main character.
Right, exactly. And in that context, I'm feeling way better about the show. Because I saw that captain, and I'm like, oh man, that has got to be the weakest captain I've ever seen. And there's also the other character. There's going to be 2 ships. I'm grokking that, right? There's another ship with another captain. There's some sort of war, Cold War going on with the Klingons. I think the Klingons have been redesigned in the era of Game of Thrones. So I think the Klingons are going to be like a inspired by Game of Thrones a bit.
The good news is, I don't know if you heard, and I don't know if this is going to affect the series much, but they hired a continuity specialist to make sure that the show stays within the continuity of the Star Trek universe.
Well, that's good.
And
That'd be awesome if they're actually broadcasting this show.
well, they are. But they're
First
not.
episode.
Yeah, it's like a drug dealer. They're going to give you the first one for free, and then they're going to try to get you to pay.
And then everybody else would download the rest.
Right, and I think this is the problem. This is a big problem.
Star Trek fans are more technically inclined.
Oh, yeah. And then you know what's going to happen? CBS is going to go, well, look, no one came and bought it online. We're going to have to cancel this.
You know what literally the first BBSs I ever signed into were? BBSs about Star Trek. Conversation about Star Trek. That's what Star Trek fans were on Gopher and BBS and Usenet. I should have plugged Usenet.
Oh, yeah.
All over Usenet.
Yeah.
They were... Some of the Star Trek fans pioneered internet feedback. Email and Usenet feedback was pioneered by fans writing in about Star Trek TNG. Like, they revolutionized the way studios receive feedback from their audience.
Well, and before they used to be totally cool about fan films and everything, and now obviously CBS and the whole Axanar saga, and they came up with these stupid freaking guidelines. This is CBS.
They should have just sold it to Netflix.
But, well, yeah, this is CBS trying to do their own Netflix thing, thinking we have so much good content, we can do the CBS All Access. We're going to
Such a bad idea.
$14.95 per month, blah, blah, blah.
I am going to subscribe. I am going to subscribe to support Star Trek, and then I'm going to download it all in high quality off of Usenet, probably.
Right.
Because, to be honest, my connection's so damn bad, I have to watch it offline.
Well, that's the thing, right? You will pay $15 a month, and you won't even have download rights. It'll be streaming only rights.
I can't. I have to download it to watch it. I now download all YouTube to watch it, too, now.
Yeah.
Everything is... I watch everything offline.
Are you optimistic about this, Rikai?
Doesn't really matter either way to me. I'm not a big Star Trek person.
He does not like Star
I just
Trek.
figure you like sci-fi in general.
Or good television, or good storytelling, or good... Or
I do
good
like Star
history,
Trek,
or-
but I haven't liked it since Deep Space Nine.
He likes Deep Space Nine.
You know what? I'm with you. Fist bump from here.
I'm
because
not saying Deep Space Nine is not a good show, but you got all Star Trek's good.
Honestly, though, Deep Space Nine was kind of like the first Star Trek series to try a more procedural, serial-based thing.
Yep.
And I liked that a lot.
It was super new at the time, too.
Yes.
In fact, there was big pushback. They tried to get them not to do it.
Don't do that. Oh, don't do this Dominion thing. Don't do it.
It took DS9 like 2.5, 3 seasons to do it because they had. What happened is they wanted to do multi-arc stories.
Yeah.
And the executives, because there was a new project, were very micromanaging.
They're scared. Yeah.
And they said, no, we're not doing that. You need to do episodic. We need to be able to sell this later on in reruns. You could, because that's how Star Trek makes money, is reruns, right? So you can. There's no way you're gonna be able to do multi-episode arcs. Can't do it. And then about the 3rd season, the executives started to get more focused on the Star Trek movies, the spin down of TNG. They kind of just let DS9 run itself And when they stopped looking so closely, they started sneaking in multi-episode story arcs.
Yep.
And it was a huge hit.
I just wish they would go back with Deep Space Nine and give it the Blu-ray treatment that they did for TNG.
Not going to happen.
Way too expensive.
Well, it's a different film process. They didn't do it on film. They did it on video.
Yep.
That's such a bummer because I'm about to
know.
start. So Hadia and I have just gotten to season 7 of TNG.
Woohoo!
We've watched through all of TNG, and we're now on the first couple of episodes of season 7. And once season 7 wrapped up, we're switching to DS9, and I have been desperately looking for high resolution. Nothing.
No.
It's going to be low quality.
No.
Meanwhile, TNG looks gorgeous.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So, Chase, have you watched Stargate?
No.
Oh, well, you guys suck. Because I was just going to tell you that Stargate Universe is Voyager done right.
Last.ting.com, that's where you go to get $25 off a Ting device or save $25 after you sign up. And Beardsley, you came up with a brilliant new promo URL. We've been brewing on it for weeks.
Here's the ting.
That's what it should be, but it's not that yet. Right now, it's last.ting.com. This may be one of the final weeks to use the legacy URL. Use it now. Be a hipster. Last.ting.com. That probably appeals to nobody, but what does appeal is just $6 a month for your phone line and then your usage on top of that. That's how simple Ting works. $23 per phone per month is the average Ting bill. I think Rikai put it perfectly last week in Linux Unplugged. Ting is such a good deal that I can literally just forget that I even pay for Rikai's phone.
Yeah.
Last.ting.com. Nationwide coverage, no contracts, pay for what you use. And they've recently on their blog posted the smartphone buyer's guide to help you ruminate on the best purchase, save money, and get the right system. Then on top of that, speaking of systems, the best dashboard in the mobile industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Ting's done it, and then they combine it all up with great customer service, CDMA, and GSM. And yeah, remember how I said no contracts on top of all of this? It's marvelous. You can also just buy the SIM if you want to power something specific. I love that too. Last.ting.com.
I like Ting, by the way, a lot. I use it for my home security system.
That's right.
And it works great because I only pay for the usage, and
You only
so
pay for when there's something to report.
right. So I just pay for the base monthly fee, which is cheaper than using any kind of security monitoring service.
Shoot, boy, good point.
Yep, I love that.
Last.ting.com. While in Montana, my kids and Noah's kids really hit it off again. They hit it off every time, but now they're all a little older and they really hit it off. They're playing Minecraft together. And of course, the next thing that comes up is, well, now we want to be able to talk. And Noah and I were sitting there in our respective rigs thinking, like, how are we going to get our kids set up? Like, do we want to set up Mumble? Do we want to set up Skype? What do we want to do for our
And then
kids?
a wise beard popped into your head.
Well,
Wise beard.
it was sort of like you were floating over my shoulder. I had RMS over one shoulder, and then I had your beard over another shoulder. And one was saying, do the free thing, Chris. And the other was saying, you have 15 minutes to set this up. Just use Discord. And I was like, should I listen to RMS or should I listen to the beard? And so I went to Noah and I said, Noah, we got this problem. He's like, yeah, I know. Our kids are going to want to continue to communicate. And he's like, I've been thinking about this. And he's like,
And I'm going to teach our kids about certificates so they can use Mumble.
Exactly. He's like, do you think we should set up Mumble? Or do you think And I'm like, well, you know what Rikai would say? He's like, yeah, we should just use Discord. I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. So I set it up. I set up Discord for Dylan and for Abby and for little Noah. And I put myself in there and I put Noah in there. And we're all in Dylan's Discord server now.
Nice.
Dylan has like a Minecraft chat area. And it's easy. It really feels like a combination of Slack and TeamSpeak and Mumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's nothing free and open source about it, right? Like you can't host your own Discord. You can't can you host your own Discord server?
You can pick what geographic region. That's about it.
So that's what we were able to do. We picked a Midwest, figuring it was the halfway point between the Pacific Northwest and Grand Forks, North Dakota. But I for a moment I was like, well, can I not spin this up on? So I'm such a noob. I was like, I can't spin this up on my own droplet. And then I come to find out everybody's all in on Discord. Mm-hmm. Rikai's got his own Discord server. Chase has got his own Discord server.
I'm on like 20 Discord servers.
You're on 20?
Yeah.
I'm on 4. And I just added you. That includes you.
What is the point, though? I mean, is it just like a bunch of Slack chats?
Yeah, and it's like you're a part of those other little communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Slack for screwing around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, not just screwing around. I mean, we have some, very high technical, things going on.
Should we have a user air Discord?
We could.
Yeah, you should.
Should we?
I honestly, I think there should be a JB Discord.
Am I supposed to so I set up a Telegram, am I supposed to just follow every trend?
Well, see,
At what point do I be like, no, we got enough?
the thing is,
Yeah, it's
you
true.
went down this whole path where you followed the whole open source trend, and they all went to these services that nobody else uses but them. Like the only exception is Telegram, but other than that, like we went through Viber, and we went through something else. I don't even remember. Matrix.
Yeah.
And nobody.
Matrix is still running, I think. I think there's still a Matrix.
The only
Don't
one that
forget
has,
about Mastodon.
the only one that has any widespread traction though is Telegram.
Nobody's talking about Mastodon anymore?
Nobody was talking about Mastodon in the first place.
Mastodon is this a?
It's decentralized Twitter.
I've never heard of it.
Really? You've
Yeah.
never heard of Mastodon,
Never
dude?
heard of it.
Really? Are you shitting me right now?
No, I'm not.
Are you
Never
joking?
Heard.
Proves
No,
my point.
I've never heard of it.
What?
I've never heard of it.
You got to be kidding.
He's even a tech guy, and he hasn't.
I've never heard of it.
I'm really impressed by that.
No, that's the average person, Chris.
So Chase,
You're in a
is-
bubble.
Really?
Yeah. You're in an open
But
source bubble.
Chase is a huge social justice warrior. It seems like.
No.
All right. So, anyways, continue on. So, you think Discord is it's sort of like what the masses have come to?
Yeah, basically everybody that used to use Ventrilo and Skype and
I had a TeamSpeak server.
and TeamSpeak,
Yeah.
they all just went to Discord. Literally everybody's on there now.
Yeah.
Mattermost. That's what we set up. Mattermost. In fact, Mattermost 4.0 just came out.
We set it up and you forgot its name.
And it's a little bit of IRC too, by the way. So it's kind
so
of
is Slack.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Skype is trying to rip off right now. So I guess I'd put the question to the audience: should we have a Discord, and what would we use it for? Would it replace Mumble? Would it would it replace the Telegram chat? Would we have Discord
Honestly,
channels for each show?
It could replace
it could.
Mumble, the Telegram, and IRC all at once.
Yeah, it can do it all. It could.
I don't know about replacing IRC.
But-
That seems.
But why?
What am I going to put?
Chris is holding on to something
You
very
can put the
old
Discord
and
chat
nostalgic.
on the screen.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys think I'm being old school here?
I think it's a little bit.
I love IRC.
I love it too, but
Really?
I think it's time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I have no allegiance to any particular platform. Wherever the people are at, I'm willing to go. But
I bet the Discord chat could look good on the screen.
yeah, I
It'll look really good on the screen. And the cool thing about Discord too is you can have it on your screen and on your phone. You don't have to pay an extra charge to have it all synchronized across all platforms.
You know,
It's got really good notification system.
You know what everybody-
very good notification.
Really?
You can.
Oh, now you're speaking
you're
my
sold.
language.
Well, the cool thing about the notifications is you could set it up for if you want to have an alert for your a specific sub channel. You can have it set up for that and
Yeah.
not bother you on the other.
Yeah, so it has per channel, and then it also has like sub per channel. You can say only notify me
On the mentions or not
on the mentions
Yeah.
or for everything,
I love it when you touch that spot, dude.
Oh yeah, just gently massage it. Yes,
or you can just mute the entire server.
exact, or just that one channel or whatever.
So, I guess I'll put the question to the audience if we should try it. Because I could see value in having channels for each show to talk about it. Like, because Telegram is just one flat.
You have one channel. You have one channel for announcements, one channel for questions, one channel for each show.
Oh man, that would be really useful.
Yeah.
A channel for questions where I could say, "Hey, we're taking questions for user." I was thinking about launching a hashtag Ask Air. So maybe we could start with that. Tweet us. What do you think about launching Discord and replacing IRC with Discord? Let us know, and maybe the Telegram group. So give us your answer and mark it with hashtag AskAir. And if you have a question for the User Air program, you can ask us that question with hashtag AskAir. A topic of conversation in our community right now is Verizon getting caught red-handed throttling Netflix and YouTube video, and has admitted to even doing some test video optimizations. Just a few tests, no big deal. Affected customers to some degree.
Chris, they weren't doing it intentionally. What they were doing is optimizing their video for better usage for people. Other companies do this. This isn't a violation because it's okay.
Just like AT&T, when they were caught tracking customers' locations for advertising, said it was just a test.
Right.
Yeah. So people watching YouTube reported degraded videos saying that using a VPN service often would bypass the throttling. And this is totally fine. This is totally legal. There's nothing wrong with this. Net neutrality does not apply to wireless. Verizon and Google worked to make sure that would be the case. And it looks like they've backed off since reporting of this. But this comes on the heels of a recent day of activity around net neutrality and AT&T tricking its customers into actually opposing net neutrality. So we have a series of net neutrality topics that are hot this week. And so last week we saw a massive online protest against the new FCC boss and his plan to completely ignore some of the net neutrality requests and gut popular protections.
Which AT&T joined?
Oh, you mean like AT&T Wireless versus AT&T, the traditional telco, or?
I don't know. I just know that AT&T joined the net neutrality support,
Yeah.
which I found super ironic.
Yeah, they spent the day sending emails and other notifications to customers professing the company's dedication to net neutrality. Even showing up on TV set-top boxes when you're watching television. There's a tweet about that. And this would all sound great and good, but it turns out AT&T didn't really care about net neutrality, did they, Chase?
No. No, what they were trying to do is use the guise of, we support net neutrality. And they were pushing this message across TV, across their internet service, across everything they could think of. And they were directing people to this website, right, to support it.
Sure.
But what that website did in actuality was submitting comments to the FCC to say, we support you pulling back Title II and having a Congress solution.
Right.
Which in fact means that there would be no net neutrality, which means there would be nothing right now if that thing went through.
And they titled the page Open Internet. That's all it says. It just says Open Internet. And then in big, bold letters, they say, we support an open internet. So they've redefined what an open internet is.
Yeah.
And they mean an internet of no FCC regulation.
Right.
That's an open internet.
They support AT&T's open internet.
Right.
Their version of it.
They support the Congress critters version that
the lobbyist versions,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
In fact, the reality of this is that the telco companies together spent something like $500 million in the last year on lobbying against net neutrality in Congress. $500 million. In fact, I think that's a lowball. I think it was like $550.
Imagine how much infrastructure upgrade they could have done.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the ironic thing is that didn't stop AT&T from pursuing their merger with DirecTV. It didn't stop them from pursuing their fiber projects in certain areas of the country at all. This is one of those situations where they are starting to feel, and other companies are starting to feel, that their television tie-ins are at risk from people who say, no, I don't need television anymore. I just want internet. And I think that's the inherent issue here is there's a huge conflict of interest with these companies because they're trying to protect an old model that honestly isn't working anymore. It's just not.
And then sort of the bookend story to this series of stories is the FCC now says that, well, we have no documented analysis that we were under a cyber attack.
This is after the John Oliver situation.
Back in May,
Yeah.
right, where John Oliver directed people there once again to leave comments, and then...
Well, the story from the FCC was that they said, we had a DDoS attack against us. And
right at the same time.
Right, because of the John Oliver story, it pushed so much traffic. Well, some very intelligent people on Reddit did some very deep dive analysis on it, and come to find out that they were able to analyze the same traffic from the FCC because they use Alchemy.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And so there was no dip in traffic. There was no kind of weird thing happening on the net previous the lead up to this, firing up the bots, so to speak. And now they're saying, well, we can't release any of that information because it's protected, secrets.
What I think happens, and you and I have seen this on Unfilter, is basically any political agency will blame a cyber attack, or Sony will blame a nation-state cyber attack for something that was an insider leak.
The interview, the movie. Yep.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And it's just the go-to line. It was a cyber attack.
I think in this instance, if Chairman Pai decides to go ahead and just continue this path of pulling out the Title II regulations, in the lawsuits, this is going to hit a brick wall because I think this is something that the courts will see as obstruction. We'll see as just straight up they're lying about it. There's no reason for them to change the Title II ruling, for him to say, it's hindering development. Well, we can already prove that it didn't.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If I'm Netflix,
yeah,
and I have the money to put caching boxes in every major ISP,
right?
So that way I'm basically streaming over their local network. Is that anti-net neutrality?
Well,
it's because you're making a special deal with every ISP, getting special treatment that Geek Gamer and Jupiter Broadcasting don't get.
Well, and that's obviously because they can afford to, and I think the danger in all this is it's going to hinder smaller guys. It's going to hinder the startups that have this incredible idea, an incredible product that they won't be able to do it because they don't have Netflix money. They don't have Geek Gamer TV money, because or Jupiter Broadcasting money because we're just rolling in it.
Well, they're still going to make. I think they're still going to make their product, but it's going to have to be hosted on YouTube or iCloud or Amazon S3 or
but then what they'll in turn doing is, oh, do you want to have more eyeballs? Well, if you subscribe to our monthly service here on YouTube, like YouTube Red, you'll get priority upstream to get more eyeballs. It's going to turn into that, and then you're going to have these tiered levels. You've seen the mock-ups of,
yep.
Do you want Steam? You'll pay more. Do you want this? You'll pay more.
Seems like it.
And that's where I think, though, you have one thing I've learned about the tech community, especially on Reddit and all that, is you can't fool us. You can't fool people that are very, very smart and able to analyze the data. And especially with the FCC, they thought they could get away with just throwing out there, oh, yeah, it was a DDoS attack. Ha, ha, ha. And then what happens is, now they're caught. They're caught. And if this goes to court and Pi decides to try to change the rules, I think you're going to have a long court battle. That's why I encourage people to, if you can, on smile.amazon.com, go EFF or, go for a group where you believe in, a tech group, and, donate and, put the power behind it, and let's get to work.
Go over to DigitalOcean.com and use our promo code Here's the Thing after you've created an account, and you will get a $10 credit. And then you can deploy one of their systems in seconds. With incredible SSD performance, a simple, easy-to-use interface, droplets all over the world, and with one click, you can either deploy an entire application stack with like Ubuntu LTS and Docker and the application you want, or just the core system. Maybe you're just like Chase Nunes over there and you just want a core LTS system, right?
Totally, man. I need that.
Core system over there. You can deploy it in seconds. They have highly available block storage, lightning fast networking, monitoring and alerting, so that way you can look like a boss and keep track of how things are performing, which is extremely useful. Cloud firewall, that way the network limitation is done at the network level. What an idea, right? Instead of having your droplet receive all those packets and do the processing, why not have it filtered out at the network level? Also, new services like high-performance CPUs, powerful new CPUs, available from DigitalOcean, like Skylake and Broadwell CPUs. DigitalOcean.com, create an account, and use our promo code Here's the Thing. And also, check out their community section. They have tutorials like an introduction to Let's Encrypt. That's pretty handy. DigitalOcean.com, use our promo code Here's the Thing.
So, Rikai, you ever heard of being follow-botted before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Have you been follow-botted?
No.
Okay, all right. So, for those who don't know, and on the land of Twitch, there's view bots where fake people are watching your stream, basically computer clusters somewhere. And that's just to get you moved up in the rankings, to get you moved up on the directory so people see you.
Sure,
all right?
Sure.
Does
Twitch know that these are bots?
Oh yeah, and they go around and they try to shut down these websites, and usually they're Russian websites, so
probably Putin himself.
Yeah, it's probably Putin himself, watching gaming. I really like. So anyway, I like the bear writing. So they try to shut them down, and they will ban people who are intentionally doing that because that's against terms of service. You don't want to do that. It's bad form. But what's been happening to me lately when I stream is I'm not getting the view botting, but I'm getting the follow botting. So they're people that are with bogus fake names that are following your stream. So you get an alert saying, blah, 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 72 is now following, and it just really spams it all up.
Are you sure it's follow bots, or is it the new Twitch auto follow thing that they set up?
Oh yeah, someone was telling me about that on mobile, the Pulse thing or whatever,
Yep.
right?
It automatically follows random people that it thinks that you'll like.
Oh Jesus!
I was gonna say, how do you know you're not just hitting it big?
Well, because no one's chatting.
Oh, so they're just following, but then they never say a thing.
No one says anything in the chat, and it's very apparent that it's fake. And the sucky thing is, you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do.
because I'm streaming, right? And I can't. They're not in the chat, so I can't ban them from the chat. What I end up doing is turning off the follow notification so I don't annoy the people that are really watching. It's just it's. I understand why some people do it, just because of the fact that, you know, now since everyone can stream on their console and on their computer and on their phone, there's so much noise that if you're starting out and you want to get known and you want to move your way up, people are cheating.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It sucks for people like Rikai and I who are genuinely trying to just game and have fun with the community. No one can find you. No one knows that you're there because there's too much noise.
You know, I think in the past 5 days, I've streamed 20 hours.
Wow.
You've been on there, man. I've been auto-hosting it.
Yeah.
That is so. And do you notice is there a perceptible gain in subscribers, or like is there some perceptible gain that you're getting?
I've gotten about 30 followers and 3 or 4 subs.
But look at that investment, though. 20 hours for 30 followers. That's like, my God.
That is massively disproportionate.
Yeah.
Like, that's you just got to be willing. I mean, I guess you got to be hoping that eventually you cross a threshold where it starts snowballing.
Yeah.
I'm considering, honestly, wearing a low-cut shirt. And I might get more views that way or more follows that way.
I heard breast augmentation helps.
It does. It does. I mean, if you wear a nice tank top and you're at the right angle, I think that will work.
Chase, maybe you ought to consider, instead of trying to be a Twitch streamer yourself, selling services to Twitch streamers. All right, so stick with me here for a second, because maybe instead of grinding away for years and years, you could create like voiceovers for Twitch channels. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the voice of Como News' WS.traffic person. Like, I don't know what to call you, Chase, but check this out. I'm telling you, Chase could be a Twitch voiceover guy.
Beginning July 23rd, if you hold your phone while at the wheel, you're breaking the law. On the road, off the phone.
Yeah. That's what you call a bumper, buddy.
That was good, Chase. On the road, off the phone.
Yeah.
See, you start doing that for Twitch people.
It's ironic that you bring that up. So a couple of guys, this happened a couple of years ago, where, you know, they saw my stream and they saw the graphics and they're like, hey, can you help me get started, right? So sure, I help them get started, and I tell them, yeah, you need to get a Twitter. You need to, you know, kind of get out there and start engaging in social media, you know, come to a schedule, things like that. This guy's now past me. He's got like 50,000 followers, right? And then when I jump into his chat when he's doing a stream, he doesn't even remember me.
No.
Yeah, or he acts like he doesn't remember me, and I just like,
he's big time now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He doesn't need to bother.
It's because he doesn't want you to ask him for a co-op.
Right. Or he's just like, hey, do a raid on my channel. Come on over, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, today is the day in Washington State that you have to have your phone mounted on the wheel, or not on the wheel,
You
but
can't be holding your phone while you drive.
no longer. No.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
I think it's a good thing.
I've seen some pretty unbelievable things, though. Phones are definitely a distraction on the road, but I have seen dudes shaving, and I have seen women reading books and putting makeup on.
Well, you see it a lot probably driving the RV.
You can see, you see down in there, and it's scary because people in traffic read a lot. That is not a safe thing to do.
I remember you once told a story about somebody that was reading the newspaper.
Yeah, I've seen newspaper. Yep, I've seen newspaper.
That seems the worst.
It's incredible.
Wait, an actual paper?
Yeah, like the newspaper. So like the cell phone is definitely a concern, but people find ways to be distracted. Let me tell you.
Well, I commute by bus sometimes, and the buses here, they're double-decker. So you can see straight down into someone's car. And yeah, you see it all, and people are distracted. And I've started dash camming. You ever thought about putting a dash cam in your RV?
I got one.
Oh, you got one in your RV?
Yeah. It's not great. It's not. I'd like to replace it, but it's functional.
Yeah, no, so when there's a bad driver, I hit the button, right? And then I make a compilation video like in a week or two and put that out there. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, man. People are crazy just what they do.
Washington's definitely one of the worst.
It's
really
passive aggressive #1. It has to be.
It really truly is. California is tight and aggressive, but Washington is passive aggressive and people are really zoned out.
I'm going to drive in the left lane at 60 miles per hour, and you are not allowed to pass me.
You have that, but then you also have this is Washington's #1 epidemic. And if you now I'm going to say this, if you haven't noticed it, you'll notice it. Is we have the worst mergers in the country.
Yes.
People don't look until they're already off the on ramp, and they're and then they look. And when you're in a 40-foot long RV. people freak out because they don't look until they're right next to you, and if I can't get over, there's nowhere for me to go, and they either typically they slam on the brakes and just totally cause a massive traffic incident behind them, or every now and then they try to go for it and like make it while there's still some shoulder, instead of just like looking before they get to the freeway before they even merge.
How many cars have not had turn signals installed? That's what I want to know.
It's an epidemic.
I mean, it must be a new option.
You know what? We're sounding like really old men right now. Oh no! Oh no!
I need you to take a trip to Massachusetts, Chris.
Oh yeah?
Because it is the complete opposite kind of driver where everybody is hyper aggressive, and I want to see which one you hate more.
The spirit of Massachusetts.
You know what? I would say Texas was surprising because it was really, really moving, but everybody would make space. But one of the things in Texas that really threw me off, and I kind of wish it would take off here in Washington now that I've witnessed it a few times, is if there's bad traffic and somebody wants to get off the freeway, they'll just drive off. They'll just drive off into the grass and down in and over. And you look at the Texas freeways, and like the grass is worn in where people just drive across. It's a common thing. It's like normal there, and they don't get in trouble. It's so common that there's like trails in the grass.
Dude, it would freak out people here if that happened. I mean, people would go ape. I mean, they really would be like, how dare you drive on the grass? You are not allowed to drive on the grass.
You're not following the rules.
I'm going to turn you in. Taking a picture.
Now I'm going to have to call my housing authority and tell them it wasn't my fault.
How many times has your HOA bothered you, man?
We see. First, we're going to talk about traffic, and then we're going to talk about the HOA. This is no good.
Hashtag triggered.
This is no good.
You've now been triggered.
Well, I feel like you're in housing jail, Chris.
Why is that?
Because you're constantly under surveillance.
I see.
Oh, wait,
it's like a living prison.
Do you get a knock on the door from the HOA president saying, "Oh, excuse me, you can't park your vehicle"?
I don't even think they're in the state. They just have minions that go around and ticket us. Yeah, yeah. It's the.
That was my number one rule, man. When I bought a house, make sure it was not in an HOA.
Yeah. I would say it started as probably the most workable HOA I'd ever seen. Like I was like, wow,
that's always how it starts.
How lucky we got! I can't believe how lucky we got. $40 maybe for the year.
Yeah.
Just like,
and then somebody else bought them up.
Yeah, and then the year things change after time.
One of my other good friends, when he first moved in was an HOA, but no one like kept up their houses and no one kept up the paint and the grass, whatever, and they just decided to disband it. Maybe you can get all these people together, get them to sign a petition. Yeah. You know, a democratic process.
Yeah, but I feel like this is just a symptom of a larger problem, and so what I really need to do is
Russia.
I need to create a Jupiter Broadcasting colony. Where we all just go off in like a cult/project,
right?
And we just circle the wagons, and we have our own society with our own rules, and we'll just produce podcasts.
There are still San Juan Islands. There's a couple out there that are still vacant that you could purchase.
There's some places. Maybe. There's some places in Arizona I think I could make work, or Northern California, and like you said, maybe the San Juans. There's some places.
Yeah.
We also could be a virtual community.
Yeah.
It's all just
what was it?
VR headset away.
Yeah.
I've been playing colony management games, Chris, so I can run this.
Great.
No problem.
Great. Yeah. This is hours of investment you've been training to manage our new Jupiter colony.
Speaking of VR worlds, I don't know if this is a segue or not, but I'm going to force it into one. What about? Did you guys watch the Ready Player One trailer?
I did. Yeah,
nope.
and I've been looking forward to it.
Nope.
Did you read the book?
No.
Good
dude.
Audiobook. It is narrated by Will Wheaton.
That's right. Shut up, Wesley.
Yeah, it's good, and it's
very good.
Basically, just a quick recap of the early part of the plot. I won't give any spoilers away. There's a game called The Oasis, and it's become like the #1 MMO of the world, and it's a VR headset, and it's one of those dystopian futures where everything's just gotten a hell of a lot worse. So just a lot more people want to play games, and The Oasis is one of the few places where you can have satisfaction and accomplishment, and achievement, and influence, and so everybody plays The Oasis.
Yep.
It's a good premise.
Yep, definitely. It's going to be early next year, 2018, March, I think.
What'd you think of the trailer?
Well, without being too spoiler alert, they a lot of the things that I thought about in the book, the stacks, the trailers, was in the trailer. It's like that's exactly what I envisioned it to be.
They got a few IP assets in the trailer that I was surprised to see as well from other genres.
It got hyper analyzed on Reddit. I mean, down to the second. Did you see this and this and this? Oh man.
Yeah.
I am cautiously optimistic, as I was telling my wife.
If I could have a user air book pick, and you haven't read Ready Player One. I'm not going to say it's
Ernest
the next
Cline.
masterpiece, but it is a great book.
It's great fun.
And if you already have an Audible subscription, get the Audible, listen to Will Wheaton because he talks about
He
it.
does it so well. Like
Because he gets all the references.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of references.
Yeah.
Things full of them. If you like user, you'd probably like that book.
Oh, you would love it.
And then you'd be ready for the movie. So it's
Yeah, you'd be ready to go.
Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Hey, Chase, did you know that I'm going to be launching, kind of soft launched already, a Patreon exclusive podcast?
Ooh,
Good
about
idea,
time.
right?
About time.
Yeah.
Give something back to the people who support you on Patreon.
Yeah. So I came up with an interesting idea for it on my Montana trip too. So I don't want to say what it is yet.
Is it about a sub?
It's a what? That is a reference as if I had been murdered. If I was that guy, I would have been killed, and I would have been regretting that I'd never gone to Montana.
No. No. But you're like the captain. You know, you're trying to get to Montana right.
Oh.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So while I was going to Montana on behalf of my fallen officer,
Right.
so does that make me Sean Connery?
You are Sean Connery, or you could be Alec Baldwin, and you guys are bonding together.
Either way,
Hey.
actually, I'll take it.
Hey guys,
Yeah?
can we get back to the podcast?
Oh, right. So patreon.com/JupiterSignal, that is the Patreon page to support the whole network where this new podcast will be delivered. It's the first kind of teaser episodes out to generate an individualized RSS feed for each patron. So that's available now, so you can subscribe. It's not like a weekly show. It's going to be kind of a cool behind the scenes like JB thing. And it's also just a way to say thank you to everybody for supporting the network. Patreon.com/JupiterSignal. This is a topic I've brought up before, and I go into this with total humility and an understanding of my personal limitations, and I ask for forgiveness from the audience before I even bring it up. I've been thinking about de-Googlifying my life. There, I said it. I know I've said it before, but I've been getting freaked out recently, and it started 3 weeks ago and I don't even think I've got a chance to tell you about this, Chase. This is perfect. I didn't even think about this. On the last few Unfilter episodes, anytime somebody comments about Seth Rich, the comment gets marked as spam. And then I have to log in, I have to go to the flagged comments, and I have to approve it. And then it says something to a green box comes up and says, "You've approved this comment." And it clicked in my head. It's like, is Google logging that I, as a content creator, am approving comments about Seth Rich? And it's this creepy, I never know what they're watching, what they're monitoring, this back of my mind. And so yesterday, I saw my Google Photos was uploading to Google Photos, and I looked at what it was uploading, and there were some pictures of my young kids, naked. I'm like, I'm turning that off for a little while. And I just turned off the upload. Because again, I was creeped out about what is Google analyzing here.
Right.
And it's this uncertainty about it. They may never care about any of that stuff. Then again, they may be watching all of that or saving it to look at it in the future when they decide it is relevant.
Right.
And I just don't know where the line is, and it's creeping me out more and more. And, I mentioned on
That's
Prime,
older age. That's what that is. That's kicking in.
Well, I mentioned I got that scale that reports to my phone. The only reason I'm doing it is because it's using HealthKit. If it was using Google Fit, I wouldn't. I never have, because I didn't want Google to have that information. I don't want them to know. I don't want them to combine my activity with my daily weight. But the fact that it's on HealthKit and it's locked to my phone, and if anything ever happens to this phone, I lose the information, that's totally fine with me. I don't need it synced to iCloud. I don't need Apple keeping a copy of it. It's all local to this iPhone. And the moment I destroy this iPhone, that information is destroyed. It is truly, legitimately my information. And so I am willing to track my weight. And that's the only reason I'm willing to do it. And so when these things started to click for me, I thought, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I'm never going to be comfortable as long as I'm using Google.
Is it just Google, though? It could be any. What about all the commands that you're giving to this hockey puck that's down here? I mean, where does it end? Where does it stop? It's going to be analyzing your voice, and it's going to be, tracking. It correlates your voice to your account, so now it knows what you sound like, and maybe the command that you gave, whatever. Where does it stop? Where does the semi-paranoia stop?
And what's to say that, Apple, for example, won't change their tactic down the road? and apply retroactively.
And upload my HomeKit data or my
Yeah.
HealthKit data to iCloud.
Or maybe it's already there and they're just waiting to unlock it.
Well, I don't really have any assurance of that. The only thing that I have to go off of is one company, Apple in this case, makes their money by selling hardware and not by selling my data.
For now.
Yeah, I suppose. I could.
Google used to make their money off of search.
Well, no, I'd say they always made their money off advertising, though. They've always been an advertising
yeah.
company. It's just search enabled great advertising. I only have their respective motivations to go off of. But you're right. I don't know that's not said to be true. I would probably just at that point stop using it. But I have the option today, the reason I mention it is not to draw a comparison between the operating systems, but to just draw a general conclusion about there's an uncomfortableness with always being monitored and never knowing which metric they're all of a sudden deciding to find important. And all of a sudden, because I'm flagging, because I'm approving comments about Seth Rich, I could be ending up in some sort of Google database that they pull to see who's discussing Seth Rich, which is not a list I necessarily want to be on.
It's interesting because I think that you're also, well, me too, and Chase as well, we're also part of one of the last generations that even thinks about this. I feel like the next generation after us, they just don't even have an expectation of privacy. They just assume all their stuff's in a database, and oh well.
Well, and you see us making compromises. I mean, like Chase pointed out, I have an Echo sitting over there, and he just sent his DNA off to some corporatized spying agency.
It's just too useful.
It's very useful. I could use that data.
Hell, I'm selling myself to the internet. I guess I can't say anything anymore.
Well, maybe it's because deep down we all realize that we're here for a totally insignificant amount of time and that we don't really matter in the grand scheme of things all that much, and that we're here for just a short bang and might as well get the most out of it while we can. Is that what it is? Because that's maybe where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I don't have some grandeur ideas that people will be talking about me for the next 500 years.
Let them have all my data to do what they want with. I'm going to go use that freedom that it allows me to go do whatever the hell I want.
The counter argument would be, well, just wait, because eventually it's going to come back to bite you. Like, I'll tell you, so if you today are an anti-Trump person, how do you feel about the spying apparatus that Obama legitimized for him? Now, potentially, somebody like Trump has access to the vast array of the NSA. Or flip this around. When you were a Bush supporter, how did you feel about Bush creating a drone program that Obama could then use to the next degree? So you have to think about how things will change when power changes. So if you've read Into the Plex? Is that the book, Chase? Do you know what I'm talking about? Into the Plex?
I've read it.
Yeah, it's something along those lines.
It's not Into the Plex.
In the Plex, I think.
No, In the Plex. Anyways, it's a book about Google. Yeah, In the Plex, How Google Thinks, Works, and Shapes. I've read this book. We've all read this book.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And they talk about, you guys then will clearly remember that they talk about in this book about how Sergey or one of the two founders of Google would shut something down. Said, no, we can't do that. That's super creepy. Like Google Glass temporarily had the ability to do face recognition and then pull up information you had on that person. Noah's favorite feature, if he was here, he'd tell you that was my favorite feature about Google Glass. It was one of them that shut it down. It's too creepy. We can't do that. Once these people are gone, once they die, once they retire and move on to the Bahamas, once they go create their own island like one of them wants to do, once they move on and they're no longer the sheriff of Google or now Alphabet, your Eric Schmidts now all of a sudden have access to this vast array of information and can use it in ways that the original founders never liked. Just like when Steve Jobs left and Tim Cook now runs Apple, it's a different company. Just like when Obama left and Trump comes in, different leadership comes in, but they have this access to the same information and they can make different decisions. That would be the ultimate argument against it. So for temporary gains today, there is long-term punishment potentially, and that's why I worry about Google, and that's why I think I've really got to just make like a year-long or something, because I feel like I even have to make JB move off it, because the problem is, Lordy only knows what kind of emails I get coming into my inbox from different
Lordy,
companies.
if I could see those emails,
Or them
man.
scanning your Google Docs.
Yeah, Lordy, the stuff that's in my show notes for Unfilter, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, there's stuff in there that if you're just scanning based on keywords and the countries
You're
people are
terrible.
emailing
But
you from,
then at some point, you gotta, I guess, put a little trust in whatever you're doing with whatever company you're putting your data in, because how deep is the rabbit hole going to go?
But that's the problem with
Right.
Google. I literally don't know.
But it's not just Google. That's the thing, right?
Well,
can you trust really any company?
Well, say I move my mail over to Fastmail. At least I know that Fastmail does email, right? They don't necessarily do advertising and data mining. They don't have the AI engines.
But do you know how well they protect that data? Do you know if they're not
No.
secretly sharing it?
But I know
do you
that
know
they're-
if somebody there isn't pissed off?
But I know their business motivation is to sell email hosting.
Right.
Whereas Google's is really to data mine. The reason they have email is because it's a hell of a data mine.
Data mine,
That's
yeah.
why they have email.
Yeah.
And then now they figured out a way to profit from it and sell advertising and sell it to the businesses. But the reason they started Gmail was for data mining.
Yeah.
The reason why Fastmail started mail, Fastmail should really sponsor the show. The reason why Fastmail started mail was because they want to do mail hosting.
See, I've always approached Google with the trade-off that I'm trading a really good service for my personal data.
Right.
So I don't really have a problem with it because I started at that point.
Yeah, and that's sort of when I bought the Echo. That was sort of that was sort of the bargain I was making as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know because there was this question into the show, and it was what costs less today than it is worth, and the things that came to my mind were a lot of the services that I use online that cost less than they are worth to me. Like I really use some of those Google services, like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I use the shit out of YouTube.
Yeah, I use YouTube. I use Gmail. I use
Gmail
search.
absolutely for years. Google
use
Photos,
Docs.
Google. I do pay for Google storage. I have like a terabyte of Google.
Oh, you do the terabyte thing.
What do
right?
you do?
It's only $2.
I don't pay for their storage.
Really? So you're not using Google Photos?
Well, I do, but I use their unlimited.
But then they're degrading the quality. Yeah, they have a good codec or whatever. Yeah, but still compression algorithm. But still, yeah, I'm paying for it.
I paid for it because
I mean, I'm not
I'm
not printing or anything, so that's the way I see it. It's like since
Yeah.
I'm not printing, I don't really care.
But YouTube, like, what would you pay? I mean, if you say money was no, like to me, YouTube seems like it's worth $30 a month.
I wouldn't pay for YouTube anymore.
Here's why. Because when I'm really effing stuck in my rig, like when I have a massive problem with my generator, or like when I got this, like I want to learn how to change the oil in my RV, you know where I go to YouTube. I go to YouTube and I get all the information, and I'm really empowered by that. I don't know if $30 a month, that seems, because some of that stuff on YouTube is real shit. Actually 90% of it's real shit. But I now know how to change the oil in my RV and my generator solely because of YouTube. And then some ancillary Google searching. But it's really empowering. The tutorials are very valuable. So is it worth an exchange of my watching habits? Yes. In that case, I think it is very much worth that exchange. What I don't think is worth is I want to know how deep they're analyzing my sentiment, my thoughts, my opinions on topics, the stories that I follow in their new Google News. I want to know how deep they're analyzing all of that. If the exchange is my watch trends, that's the same. I'll make that deal with Amazon or Netflix too.
See, but I actually want Google to be analyzing that stuff, because if they analyze that stuff, they're providing me a better service in exchange. Like if they know the way I'm thinking and what I'm thinking, they can help like improve search, for example, by guessing at what I actually want rather than just giving me random results.
Yeah, I wish it was better. The trade-off doesn't feel like it's really worth it. I've thought about that too. Like it's
That's because they need to collect more data, Chris.
all the things they have about me now, all the information they have from my photos and my phone location, and the emails and who I talk to, and my contacts and my calendar, like the amount of information they have about me. I'll give you an example. Just going back to the Montana trip again, since it's the theme of the show. We're in Montana, Noah and I, and we're out getting some food, and he gets a push notification from Google Calendar about a dentist appointment in 1 hour in Grand Forks. Well, there's no way in hell Noah can make it back to Grand Forks in 1 hour to make that dentist appointment. But here's the crux of the matter. The booking was sent to his Gmail. All of the planning was sent to his Google Calendar. The schedule, they booked out the days they were going to be gone. All of it. This information was all fed into Google. Reservation confirmations, it was all fed into Google. And it still, with all of these data points, couldn't tell Noah, you're not going to be able to make this 1 p.m. appointment on Tuesday.
Well, I think part of that is actually because of government regulation. They're not allowed to share some of that data between the services.
What? Noah, is that you? Noah? Noah?
Hello?
We
Hello?
need smaller government. Well, they should pass it off to the states.
Poor Google. They're just so heavily regulated. We have a winner for the Dell XPS Developer Edition Sweepstakes. This is so exciting.
Thanks, guys. I've always wanted this, and
Chase?
yeah.
It's me.
No, Beard.
I needed a new Linux laptop.
We all do.
so
It can't be any one of us. You disqualified by coming in today, Chase. Sorry.
Well, Chris, I have to tell you, I quit.
Is that why you asked me to come today so I couldn't win? Screw you.
I can't say that for sure, but that might be.
So did Noah win? He's not here.
Yeah, that's why he's not here this week. No, actually, it's funny enough. I might have just been driving right past his home recently. It is Mr. Matt Corwin of Idaho.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Everybody, hit your microphones. Hit your your microphone.
Let me pop the peas here. Here we go.
Hit your microphone and congratulations, Matt of Idaho. You just won a brand new, totally fresh from the factory XPS 13.
Nice.
And depending on how this goes, you never know. We may be giving away future Dell machines. You never know. You never know what could be in the works, so don't worry. And we also know that a lot of you outside the States want to have a chance at something, so we're thinking about you as well. But this round goes to Matt Corwin of Idaho, and we'll be in contact soon.
So, Chris, how would you feel about me showing my face
What?
on the internet?
No, never going to happen. I believe there was a rule that was put down.
Only to the highest bidder.
What? Really? Is this a real thing? Because I believe the rule is no beard on camera. In fact, the vlog, there's been many things. Just to point out, the many things.
Basically, this is
from the vlog.
This is gonna affect Chris more than me because
really.
it's gonna change his life.
There's some stuff that has not showed up in the vlog. That's for sure.
But so I decided that for a number I haven't quite decided on yet, if I get a certain number of subscribers, I'm going to start doing face cams on Twitch, which also means I'll probably start showing my face on JB.
So you're selling yourself? You're selling the beard's face for subscribers?
Yes, I am literally selling myself and my privacy for income.
And in Twitch world, subscribers equals some actual monetary amount, right?
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. That just right there is amazing. So it seems like that would have to be a pretty high number because you've successfully been on the internet for a little while now, and
yeah, it's just a little bit,
and managed to avoid. Chase, could you imagine for a second, just a side tangent? Have you ever fantasized about never revealing your face? Because I have.
Yeah, sure. I mean, granted though, viewers on our shows, I mean, they know what we look like because they can find us.
They didn't always. So I went, I transitioned to video, and then, but I just recently, I've done this over the years where I have gone and looked up the image of a radio host, and now it's something changes. It's not necessarily bad, but they go from an idea to a person, a flawed human. Once I've seen their face.
Yeah.
And I just read, and I don't do this. If you haven't done this yet, what I'm about to say, don't do what Chris did. But just last night, I decided to go look up images. Don't do this. But I decided to go look up images of CPG Grey.
Oh.
And he's a perfectly handsome person. But, it took away a bit of the
mystique.
It did. And now I know, I've seen his arms before in a past video and stuff, but now I know what CPG Grey looks like, and it sort of took away some of the fun. Because I don't know what I had envisioned, but what I had envisioned was more fun than what I saw. And it sort of ruined the mystery a little bit for me.
Yeah. So it's not a decision I've come to lightly, but I figured I need some sort of additional income to move in basically any direction in my life. Because I want to transition to being a host on JB, but to do that, I need to have a secondary income to hold me over while I'm making that transition. Just to help until the other shows ramp up and can pay me full time. But I feel like even with that, I probably wouldn't have done this without the secondary reason. I feel like if I start showing my face on camera, it's going to help motivate me with my health. And I feel like if I don't do that, I'm going to have some very serious health issues coming down the pipe.
So it's like, I do totally see what you mean there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've stopped cutting my hair since I stopped doing last.
Yeah. You basically become a hipster slob, Chris.
You should totally see Chris right now, you guys.
I have lost
seriously.
weight, but I otherwise I haven't I haven't shaved since before Montana.
Chris,
And,
you walked in the other day, you had cake smeared all over your face.
That is not true. That is not true. I may have had mustard on my shirt though. So yeah, you're right. Without that sort of like other having to, it's not that other people are watching. It's that you have to see yourself through the eyes of other people.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if it's just me, I don't really care about myself. But if there's other people out there that are caring about me, it makes me care about myself.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that Chase will often comb his hair before he does a video show.
Yes.
So he's
And some of the video shows that I've done, I'll lose the headphones, the big cans, and I'll put in the in-ear monitors.
done that too. Yeah. Same thing because you know it's
you want to look presentable.
Yeah. So that is a legitimate like that's some good self-analysis there, Beard.
What you should do, Beard, though, is get yourself one of those 23andMe DNA kits, and then.
Well, Chase, maybe if I get some subscribers and I have the money.
There you go. You know what I was thinking. You know what we need to do. You prefer Beard or rikai?
Either one.
All right, fair
Beard's
enough.
sort of the meme on this show.
All right, Beard Kai, listen.
Beard Kai, I like that.
What we could do is we need to convert the living room to a set. We'll do combined streams of classic games. We'll chill. Maybe I'll bring over a pinball machine, and we just do it, man.
You just want to eat up all my users, Chase. I'm getting too big for you.
All your users. That's what happens. I got passed already again.
No, I'll tell you what I think. I think what it would do if you do is it will open up a window because then you could be on the vlog. And you and I, there's some projects you and I have talked about that I think would be a lot of fun that we could work in that would just sort of give you more exposure. Like the one I'm thinking about is we've had some fun ideas for like one-off cooking shows that you and I would just throw out there that would just be sort of
make it a lot easier.
Yeah, and just make it randomly fun content that would just sort of get people more familiar with you and if you could be on camera. So that would be pretty good. That's a big change, though, going from totally private to...
So the tentative number, and it's a small number in Twitch terms, but it's a large number, I feel, to ask JB, even though JB is very large. I'm thinking 250 subs.
Wow.
What is a sub? What's the ratio there?
What do you mean ratio?
Like, is it $1 per sub? Is it?
It's $10 per subscription.
No, it depends. There's different sub levels.
Well, I know there's levels,
the
but
default sub level is $5.
Oh, $5. Okay.
Yeah, that seems. So I'm just. That seems reasonable then.
I'm allowed to disclose this because Twitch makes it public. Half of that goes to Twitch.
Yeah.
So it's $2.50 per sub for me.
Oh. Now it doesn't sound quite as appealing, but I guess I could see it as it's achievable.
Yeah, it's achievable. It's not.
You probably have to combine that with continuing to stream like a maniac.
Yeah. Well, the idea is also, if I can get subs, hopefully there'll be continual viewers that enjoy my content, and more viewers will help me get more viewers outside of JB.
And people, this is all about word of mouth. Come on now. Spread the word.
Yeah. And the best part is if you have Amazon, you don't actually have to spend any money to help me.
If it's your first subscription, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. That is really cool.
The only downside to that is you have to remember to subscribe.
What's your badass domain, though? You have a badass domain now.
Rec.net, REKD.net.
That's rec.net. Rec.net. That's a winning domain name, dude.
It is.
And I thought allaboutchase.com was good. Shit. I'm looking for a NES Classic that's reasonable cost.
Oh man, if you find one or I'd like the new SNES thing too.
Well, I could go off on a whole rant on that for like probably a half an hour.
What's the matter?
Well, it pisses me off that Nintendo made it so exclusive and so few numbers. Like, what was their goal?
Why are they doing that?
It's like I think one business guy up in their ivory tower is like, oh no, don't sell too many because you'll cannibalize the Switch. Don't do this. It's like a lot of people want to get back in contact with their youth.
I feel like this exposes a Nintendo scam that we've always suspected.
Yeah.
They always, quote-unquote, sell out, and they always have limited availability, and we've always wondered, is Nintendo doing this to drive hype?
Well,
now we know.
In this sense,
Yes, they do.
It kind of will cannibalize the Switch, though, because on the Switch, they have the Virtual Console with all those games.
But they don't yet, I don't think.
No, they do.
Is that actually
They do.
shipping for the Switch yet?
Oh, the console?
The Virtual Console?
I think you can get that in the store.
Yeah.
At least I know for sure on
My
the Wii
understanding
U.
was that won't be shipping for the Switch until the fall.
But even still, the Switch is portable. The Nintendo Classic is not. I think they're
It's
not
even a comparison. And
they're
I would
not even the
absolutely
same
buy both.
ballpark.
I would absolutely buy both.
See, I kind
not?
of understand the limited availability,
money.
though, because it was kind of pitched and released as a collector's item. And
Yeah.
if you sell 1 million of
Not
them,
when they first released it. No,
Yeah, I'll
they
tell you
didn't say it
this.
was going to be a limited run.
Personally, if I can, and I can only buy one, I would buy the SNES Classic right now.
well, that
Whatever that thing's called.
yeah, it's going
they
to be
did
SNES
say that they
Classic.
were going to be making more of the SNES Classic than the.
Yeah, but they
NES.
still they won't what's the word? They won't commit. They will not commit to making a lot. Like they'll have a limited run, just like the NES Classic.
Where do you get it? Because you can't buy it from
Right now,
Amazon.
you can't get it from anywhere.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, that pisses me off.
Well, no, they haven't officially released it yet, and so they're
Makes me just want to go get an emulator even more.
emulate.
I do. You know, I have 2 installed on my Android TV.
I have an.
Works pretty good.
Yeah, I have an emulator installed on my stand-up arcade at home.
Maybe we don't need Nintendo's garbage.
I'm gonna buy it anyway.
Yeah, it's available September. So I just looked. It's available September 29th for $80.
Shit. Good luck.
You know, I would. It's so they've essentially shrunk down the SNES. But what would really be nice is today, I know I'm an old man, but my favorite controllers when you're looking for that kind of gameplay are the SNES controllers.
Yeah.
They just feel great.
They were good.
Man. They just feel great.
I actually prefer the Genesis controller.
You son of a
Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
It's true.
bitch. Genesis does.
Come on, Chris, you got 6 buttons.